You're listening to an ASCI Lounge podcast.
This is Talking Supply Chain, where we tackle the most important supply chain topics and trends with the industry's best and brightest.
Welcome back to the ASCI Lounge. ASCI members, I'm Monique Fenech from Australasian Supply Chain Institute, and joining us on the ASCI Lounge today is Hayley Jarick, CEO of Australian Supply Chain Sustainability School, and Gio Ferrante, SIPS's Marketing Manager. Welcome, Hayley, and welcome, Gio.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, Monique and Hayley. Good to be here.
It's so lovely that our supply chain community is all-encompassing, including sustainability, including procurement. It's an end-to-end supply chain community, and that means that for our annual conference and our advisory board, we were able to reach out to Hayley and Gio and say, will you help us with the procurement stream? Thank you, Hayley and Gio, for taking up that invitation. And the advisory board has been an absolute joy to work with these last 6 or 8 months, however long we've been working through COVID, to build a really fantastic program. I'd love to introduce you guys to listeners today, if that's okay. I know that, Hayley, you've done some webinars with us in the past as our partner at the Sustainability School. So starting off with you, Hayley's experienced in governance and strategic management in manufacturing, residential and commercial building, heavy construction, professional services, and international trade. And Hayley has previously worked for the Resolution Institute, Infrastructure Sustainability Council of Australia, and BlueScope Steel. And her role as CEO at the Supply Chain Sustainability School is all about building fabulous resources which are available to ASCI members. And we're really grateful to have you in our community, Hayley. So welcome. And Gio is from SIPSA, and we're really excited to be working and collaborating with SIPSA for one of the first times. Gio, I reached out to your managing director, Sharon, in order to invite you to our advisory board, and it was great to select and identify your skill set, which is across Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, and APAC in managing marketing operations and cross-functional initiatives, including leading the SIPSA position on the Australian Modern Slavery Act. So thank you for your contribution to our advisory board and community. And I'm really excited to get stuck right into today's podcast. And the topic is all about ASCI2021. So kicking off with you, Hayley, first, please. What is the theme of the conference that the advisory board has developed, and how is it reflected in your stream, which is the procurement stream?
Yeah, thanks, Mon. Well, look, I'm really excited for the conference, mostly because we've been, like you said, we've been developing it for a while, and we had a couple of interesting iterations of it through COVID. And the theme that has always been consistent from the start, no matter which version of this conference that we were going to put on, and that was around supply chain's response to the United Nations Decade for Action. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with the Decade for Action, it just calls for accelerating sustainable solutions to all the world's biggest challenges, whether that be from poverty to gender or climate change or inequality or closing the finance gap or any one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And in September last year, the UN Secretary General called for everybody to start mobilising around a decade for action to try and hit those targets for 2030. And he called on 3 levels around global action to try and find smarter solutions for those SDGs, around local action and the needing to transition that into the policies, budgets, institution frameworks, cities and local authorities, and around people action. So around really trying to activate youth, civil society, media, private sector, unions, academia, other stakeholders, and to generate that unstoppable movement to pushing people to generate that required transformation that we need. And that's where we really took the theme from, and to develop for the entire conference is around, well, then how can we enable supply chain's response to this UN Decade for Action, and reflected that through all of the streams that we produced for the conference. So specifically for the procurement stream, I mean, this is massive for the procurement stream. And so it's not surprising that you'll see within the conference, we've got an international keynote that'll go to all delegates at the conference before breaking off into our stream. And then we've set ourselves up with a bit of a key themes, and then some panels, 3 panel sessions that we thought really helped enable procurement to try and meet some of those sustainable development goals. And we identified them as being the circular economy, social procurement, and disruption. And then since that initial planning, that disruption theme has now been spread across the entire conference as well. So that's just a little bit about the theme and how it's related to procurement and how we've developed it.
Great. Gio, what's your reflection on the theme of the conference and how it's embedded into your stream?
Hayley's done a very good overview, so thanks for that, Hayley. I'll add a few elements. When we looked at how we can create a robust program that will be enticing and of interest for our community, we looked at essentially like 8 core elements that we needed to embed across the whole conference team and more in depth in our own procurement stream. So it's inevitable not to talk about risk in today's world, especially considering what happened, not just because of coronavirus, but before that with the bushfires in New South Wales and other disruptions. Think about the trade war with tariffs and government's imposition. So risk is definitely an element that we've looked at. And along with risk, obviously, the need for stronger governance, regulation, and compliance, particularly from a property perspective, where it's easy during these days for things to slip, through the cracks, with a lot of organizations being really constrained from a resource perspective. So that's another important element. Ellie touched on extensively, but I think, building on the sustainability footprint and the impact that procurement and supply chain can actually have in making that a reality is really probably the underlying and underpinning element of all of the session that we've established in our procurement stream. And along with that, there's a need for a different approach to procurement and supply chain, hence the agility element and the requirement for more flexible and adaptable supply chains, particularly given the complexity in which we're operating today. Again, that's been increased, if you wish, by recent events. Can also not mention technology. This is a constant in our everyday life, both personal and professional. So this is another element that will be certainly discussed throughout the session, especially understanding how we can leverage technology to actually deliver better outcomes. What is the role of the people working within our profession? So how does the skill set of our practitioners need to change and adapt and evolve to meet the challenges that the future is presenting? The natural sequel for that one is, what is the path for successful implementation of supply chain and procurement strategy? So how do we actually ensure the legacy of what we do now and support coming generation of practitioners, how we can shape their thinking, and also how we can help our organization at the same times? And last but not least, how we can create and build center of excellence. So I guess conferences and all events that add to people's knowledge are a very important part of the knowledge sharing. And I believe that through these initiatives, we can create collectively some really important documents, some really important discussions, and some really important thought-provoking concept that can help practitioners think differently, act differently, and hopefully make a difference in their organization and their community as well, which is very important.
You were also responsible, the pair of you, for actually identifying people within our community who would speak to this fantastic theme and topic. Hayley, take us through who you've selected for the procurement stream and why.
Yeah, so we have, and I suppose you might look at our stream and compared to sort of where you might look at other streams or how other people have taken this. And Gio and I definitely sat back and said, well, we actually think that the most benefit from people attending this conference is going to be hearing from as many speakers as we can, and to facilitate those conversations so that we can hear from as many perspectives throughout these different topics, because they are so varied and diverse and emerging, and everybody has their little bit to play, but collaboratively we can all get there in the end. And so I think that you're right in that there's a lot of names on on our stream for the couple of panels that we've got. And so we'll be kicking off our stream with a little bit of an update to procurement trends, and Jo's just touched through a few of them. So you might want to grab your morning tea and your cup of coffee or tea and come straight in to get ready, because we're going to go through a lot. And the first one is we're kicking off with our circular economy panel. So circular economy is a hot topic at the moment, and we sort of touched out to a number of colleagues and have had a few great people confirm their attendance to come back on our panel. Janet Salem's coming from the Innovation and Circular Economy from the United Nations, so she'll be delivering the international keynote at the start of the day and then coming to join the panel. Steve Morris, who's the head of the Circular Economy development program for Planet Arc, and Mila Bullion from the New South Wales Department of Communities and Justice is also joining us as well. So a really, really strong panel of experts in different areas of the circular economy field that can all bring different perspectives to help people answer a lot of questions that people have, but also really talk through some of the challenges and enablements that we need to make for the circular economy to become a standard practice within the industry. The second panel we have is a social procurement panel. So we've got a few really heavy hitters in this panel talking about how we can actually choose to use purchasing with social objectives in mind for the betterment and achievement of those sustainable development goals. So we're hearing from Dr. Stephen Morse, who's the CEO of Unchained Business Services, Mark Daniels, who's the Executive Director of Operations at Social Traders, and Jenny Stanger from the Anti-Slavery Task Force from the Catholic Archdiocese of Sydney. So really different perspectives all coming in there, but really talking through about all of the challenges and developments in social procurement.
Yeah, Gio, you guys have got a wide network, and I think that's definitely a boon being on the advisory board, that we can tap into your networks. How important is it to have that kind of network when selecting these people, and what are your thoughts on the key takeaways that they can give delegates?
Absolutely critical, I would say, in this day and age to have an extensive network, because you learn from people as much as you learn from books and scholar approach to to your development. So for us, it was important to, as Ali said, give voice to as many people as possible, because of that very reason I mentioned at the start. More voices equal more knowledge and more opportunities shared to hear different perspective and add to the diversity. You would see that, again, the underlying thing is pivoted around sustainability from a social procurement or circular economy perspective. And those concepts are, in our views, what will help differentiate and elevate the profession, again, procurement and supply chain, moving forward. And we do believe, we're strong believers, we felt very, very much in the same line, that through accurate and through careful and thoughtful leverage of procurement strategies, of supply chain strategies, we can really make a difference to contribute to the achievement of the sustainable development goals and decade of action. So it is pivotal to have a network. It is important that we give a voice to the network. And again, this is why we decided to go with the panel approach for our procurement stream. And it's been absolutely fantastic to see the commitment from so many high caliber speakers in putting themselves forward and accepting the invitation to speak and share their knowledge and experience on what they are living and breathing and some of the initiatives they have implemented in their own businesses.
Yeah, and after the amazing experience that procurement delegates will have from your stream, there's the opportunity to expand their knowledge into other silo areas of end-to-end supply chain management. And so, with that in mind, Hayley, what are you most looking forward to hearing from the rest of the program that you think dovetails well into the procurement function?
Oh, look, I can't pick them, but I suppose it's like asking me who's my favorite child, Monique. Seriously, like you can't you can't expect me to give an answer to that, really. But I suppose in terms of what I'm looking forward to most about the conference in general, you're right. There's so many different streams that you can choose from that align with what you want to do and what relates to your day to day, which is amazing. And because they're all centered around that one theme, then you can actually custom choose how you are going to benefit most from the conference at the end of the day. And one of the things that I most enjoy, and I'm sure that Gio's the same, as we're co-chairing our stream, but also helping facilitate everything throughout the rest of the conference, is that when you're at the front of the room, you get to see everybody's expressions on their faces as people are speaking and going through things. And so one of the things that I'm most looking forward to is seeing people really deep in thought and pondering something they've just heard. And you really can tell that from the front of the room on everybody's faces. And I also really enjoy that ding when people light up, when they finally get that light bulb moment of something that's really going to resonate with them or something they can take back at the end of the day. And for me, it's those little moments and those little gems that really make the difference of what I'm really looking forward to at the conference this year. But I suppose that's kind of why this is so important. So especially if you're run off your feet at work and there's so much going on at the moment, to actually take the time to attend a conference or a professional development event so that you can step out of your day-to-day and immerse yourself in a really safe environment where you can challenge your own boundaries and then open your mind to the possibilities of what if.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And there's enough in this program, a lot of variety of different formats. So you do hear opinion, you do see proven case studies, you do get some business cases to take back, but there's also some masterclasses where you can sink your teeth into trying out a methodology or a new area like a circular economy. So that gives you lots of opportunity to do that, and also the awards. So to celebrate success and excellence and be part of that celebration on the first evening. Gio, what are you most looking forward to hearing from the program?
Well, look, I think Kelly put it in a very nice way. It's like, it's very hard to pick a favorite, but I'll be honest, I'm very much looking forward to the panel session on disruption. And this is particularly interesting from my perspective, because we have a very diverse set of speakers, from Simon Rowe, Kimberly Clark, we've got Andrew Bridemore from Food by Australia, Peter Richardson from Doorstep Organics, and Yashin Nunkumar from Smith and Nephew. I guess it's inevitable not to think about disruption in these days. We've been all swept by a huge amount of uncertainty over the last, I'd say, 12 months. I'll include events prior to COVID, and I think it's going to be great to hear how disruption is viewed by different organizations of different size, of different footprint, with different objectives, and some of the things that I've implemented to actually respond, mitigate, plan forward. Where I'm going with that is that the future is uncertain now more than ever. But looking at inspirational ideas, methodology, approaches, particularly from a people perspective, yes, this is a conference about procurement and supply chain, but hearing the story from the people, and particularly how managing people throughout these periods of disruption can actually deliver results beyond what you expect, or mitigate the impact of a particular disruption, I think that's going to be really interesting. And to a degree, if I look at my own experience in my organization, we've been pushed to do things that we never thought we were going to do ever. And all of a sudden, we are in this situation where it's forced upon us to do things in a certain way, and we're making it work. So I guess disruption has a different meaning for different people. And again, an organization, I'm very much looking forward to doing some stuff and be inspired by that discussion.
Gio, Hayley, thank you so much for your time today. We are so lucky to have both of you on our advisory board. Looking forward to you both chairing the procurement stream and seeing those faces in the audience. Thanks so much for joining, Gio and Hayley.
Thank you, Monique.
Thank you, Monique.
And you can go to ASCI2021.com.au, which is our conference website, where you can see the program for yourself, download it and share it with your teams, and also where you can buy the tickets, where you can nominate yourself for an ASCI award or your organisation. The deadline for that is 30th of November, and we look forward to seeing you in February 2021. Thanks, members, and bye for now.
Thanks for listening. Subscribe to our podcast today. For more information about our supply chain community, visit asci.org.au.